Hello, hello viewers, subscribers, and um, and now I'm going to do live stream, and it's all about presentation. It's really important to make sure that you are making a presentation of your design or your graphic design or something that you want to show your client. And I know, for example, for the business cards, say for example, I'm going to, first of all, I'm just going to delete this one because that's my client's name. So anyway, say for example, you've got this business card and you want to present it, right? And so what I did, these two images, I just search in the internet. I search business cards, and so what I'm planning to do here, I'm just gonna replace this image here for the business cards to this one here. So presenting to a client is really important. Instead of just giving them a view of your, say, business card design like this. I mean, it looks fine, but then it's better to have this. Say for example, this one here. Plus, you can also present it in this way here. So I'm gonna show you. Um, so basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover these two with the front of the business card and the back of the business card. So so right now what I'm going to do is, the first thing I have to do is to rotate this one. There is some limitation in CorelDRAW with the perspective, because when you're applying perspective you have to have like a straight line, and I'm gonna show you how to do that. So first of all, with this one, you're going to rotate this. So I double click on this image and then I'm gonna rotate it, because these two lines should be straight vertically. Okay. So, and a good way too is I'm gonna create a guideline, so that my guideline, so I've got a guideline there, and then what I'll do, I'm just gonna move this until I'll make this straight. Okay, I think that's fine. Now we are, yep, that looks really good now. Okay, and don't worry about the orientation here, because later on we're going to put it back to the normal um, angle of the photo. So what I'll do, I'm just gonna plus sign the keyboard to duplicate, and then I'm going to move it over here, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on top of the existing image here. So I'm going to scale it a bit. The important here is to scale this and this one, so this and this one should match. Okay, maybe I'll just do it that way. Okay, now before you do perspective, you have to basically group this together. I'm just going to make the, okay, so make that show. I'll drop that down. Okay, so since these two are lined up to each other already, so I'm just gonna move this to show you. Okay, so basically this height is already the same as this one. I'm gonna click undo. So I'm okay to put perspective, but before doing a perspective, we have to group it together. So I click on group. So that's grouped together, and then you go to effects, and then you click on add perspective. So when you click on add perspective, you're going to have these 4 nodes here. So you can just grab this node, put it in that location, and this one too. There. Right? and then you can just look or check if there's no white line showing up, and for me that looks good. So now this one, same thing, I'll group, so I'm gonna put it here, and then I'll make sure that this is the same height as the existing one, and then I'll do perspective. So click on effects, add perspective, and I'm going to grab this and put it there, and this one put it here. There you go. Okay, so now since I already have this the right spot, I'm just gonna group this together, Control G or just group, and then I'm going to put this to the right angle. Okay, okay, and then I can just delete this guy. So when you're presenting your business card, it's nice to show something like this. I'm just gonna fix this. There's something here that I want to fix, which is this one here, because it shows a little bit of the green and the white. Let's move it like that. Just make it bigger a bit. There. There. So it's nice to show like this, and then maybe you can you know, indicate which one's front. So I'll put their front and then back, and I'll color that white, and I'm going to break it apart, this front and back. Okay, or you can also rotate this if you want. Okay, so presentation is really important because it's if you want to look professional, then you should have like a professional presentation, and something like this would, you know, would show that you are professional. So for for this one, same thing too. I'm gonna put this to the business card here, but first of all I'm gonna group it together. This one's easier because it's in the right angle already. Okay, it doesn't have perspective. That. Maybe rotate a little bit. Okay. Or if not, you can also add perspective. I know there shouldn't be a perspective here, but let's just put perspective because I know that's a photograph. There. That looks better. And then maybe some more here. There. And then to make it realistic, make sure to, you know, because if I go to wireframe here, you should have something that, you know, like a shadow here. Okay. So in order to do that, I'm going to so first of all I'm going to put this in a power clip. Okay, so this is my, I'll convert it to curves. Okay, so now this is my path. Okay, so I'm gonna hold down my Alt key to select the business card, and then I go object, power clip, place inside the frame, and this is my frame. Okay, now you'll see why I did that. So the reason why I did that, so that I can convert this to a curve. Okay, actually it's already a curve, but then I can add nodes here. So here, I'm just gonna double click and then double click here. So I'm adding 2 nodes, and then I can make this as a curve, convert to curves, and then I can show a little bit of the finger or the shadow of the finger. Something like that. Okay, so now it looks more realistic. Okay, so that's a good way to present a business card too. So I'm going to put this side by side there, and now it looks professional. Okay. It's really the way you present, and in my experience, if you make a mock-up of your design for your signage or anything, most likely the customer will confirm the design that it's good. Okay, so the next thing too is, say for example you've got a banner stand here. I'm just gonna edit this a bit. Say for example here, and I want to present it. Again, I just search for banner stand in the Google Images, because what I really need is only this one here. I need the stand and also the gray part on top, okay, to present the banner stand more realistic, or I'm gonna make a mock-up of that, right? I'm just gonna put it here, and I'm just gonna leave that as it is because that's my main thing. So here, what I'll do, I'm going to power clip this, right? So what I'll do, I'm gonna trace it. So we go to Bezier tool, and then so basically you just, you know, trace it. Now you don't need to be perfect here, because again, it's the graphic that's important and not the not this one. This one is just like a representation of what they're getting, the product, right? The product. So go like this here, and here, 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 and there. Now if you want to be more detailed, you can, you know, curve it. You can, yeah, curve this one to make it more realistic. Okay, so that looks fine to me. So what I'll do is I actually need this top part too. So I'm just gonna make a rectangle. Okay, and then what I'll do here, so these 2 paths I created, right? So I colored it so that I know that it's a closed path. And then what I'll do, I'm going to group it together. Sorry, actually I won't group that. Okay, I'm going to power clip this now, but before power clipping, I'm gonna duplicate this without an offset, which is the plus sign in your keyboard. So I click on plus. So there are 2 images here on top of each other. And then the first one, I'm gonna go object, power clip, place inside the frame. So which frame? So this frame here, there. Okay, so now I can move this down. Okay, now same with this one. I'll just click on the original image, and then you go object, power clip, place inside a frame, and the frame would be this one here. Okay, so if you look at it, it disappeared, right? Because it was power clipped. Okay, so the only thing you have to do now is to basically scale this. So I'm gonna scale this first. Scale that there. I mean, this is just a mock-up, so they'll be focusing on the design and not your, this hardware here. So I'm going to okay, gonna put that there. There, remove the outline. So maybe I'll put a little bit of shadow. So I'm gonna go to drop shadow, click and drag going down. Yeah, I think that looks good to me. And there you go. Then you can like present this to the client. So it's really better to do it this way than just showing. For example, we'll just compare these two here. Oops. Let's compare these two. There. So if you compare these two, it's better to show this than this one, because this one at least they can see what hardware you're gonna use. Okay, and this one looks professional because it has like a stand there, top railing. Okay, so that's another way to present it. Now also for mock-up, for say for example you vehicle graphics, right? It's also better to to do it this way. So what I did here, I designed this for one of the client. If you notice here, this is not just a straight text. I put like I put perspective there, so that it's more realistic. Okay. So it's nice to present it this way, because the customer can really see what's the outcome of the product or the service that you provide. So let's say this one here, say for example you're making a sign for for your client. And so what I'll do, because these are all vector image, I'm gonna put it there, and I am going to okay, I'm just gonna delete that phone number. So I'm gonna start with this one. So I'm gonna group it, okay, because when I group, I can't apply perspective if it's not grouped together. So I'm gonna put it here, and I'm just going to extend it like that. Okay. So at least I know where to stop. Okay, and I'm gonna put this up here, and then let's say for example I'm gonna design the sign now. Okay, and then this one I'm going to just adjust the spacing. Okay, and then I'm going to put this here, and I'm just gonna make that white. Shift page up to put it to the front. Okay, so for example the sign looks like this. Okay, now you can present it this way, but it's also nice to present it both with the especially when already the location of the sign that's going to be replaced. Please take a picture of that. Doesn't need to be high resolution, and then put or create a mock-up. So what I'll do here, again, you have to group it together, because without grouping you can't apply perspective. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. Again, put so that this one will be same height, and then go to effects, add perspective, and then this one you can just drop it here, and this one you can also drop it like that. Okay, now let's take a look. Yeah, so it's so that's the way to present. It's nice, and you know, it's an actual sign. I mean, they can imagine already how it looks like once it's installed, and that's it. You got three styles of presenting your artwork or your graphics. Okay, so the tool here that you are really going to use is the perspective tool. Because like for example here I use the perspective, and it's so easy to use the perspective because it really follows the it can go whatever. For example here I'm gonna apply perspective to this again, effects. Okay, see, it's grayed out because you have to group it, so don't forget to group it. So group, and then you go effects, perspective, then you can apply perspective like that, right? Okay, so any questions or any feedback? So presentation is really important. In presenting something, like for example like the banner stand like this, it's good to include the hardware, because in the hardware then they know what they're getting, right? Let's do an experiment here while waiting. Okay, so here for example you want to put a just like a reflection here. What you do is, I'm gonna group this first and then plus sign in your keyboard, right? And then you drop this down, going down like this. Okay, see what I did? I click here and then move it down like that. Okay, and then what you can do here, so for example you're making this as a reflection, you have to convert this to bitmap first. So click on bitmap, convert bitmap, and then make sure transparency background, transparent background is checked, and then click OK. Okay, so what this means is I've got some layers. I've got some object manager. I've got some layers here that's locked, or sorry, not locked, but you know, I haven't selected. So in order to fix that, I just select all and then Control G to group and then ungroup. Yeah, that usually solves the problem. So now here I'm gonna go back here again. So I'll make this a bitmap. Click OK. Object on non-printable layers cannot be converted. Okay, so this one will make sure that we're okay, let's fix this one. So this one, if you go to the property bar here, it says group of 17 objects on desktop. So we're going to look for, okay, I had this issue came up because I was copying and pasting stuff from another artwork. So I'm gonna go to object manager, and then it says here on desktop. So I'm gonna look for desktop here, and you notice here this icon, I have to enable this because this is the printing icon. I have to enable that. Now if you, after enabling, now I can change this to bitmap. There. Okay. So since this is already a bitmap, then I can apply transparency. Click and drag going down. Okay, something like that. And then what I'll do, I'm going to move this up like that. So something like that. I'll just make that there. With reflection, without reflection. So it's your choice. Okay, so any questions, comments? And I think it's that's it. This is gonna be. I'll make my live streaming a little bit shorter so that it's more, so I can make more. So I'm trying my best to do at least once a day. Yeah, so I think this ends my live stream, and thank you for the people who attended. And if you have any questions, I will give you 2 minutes. I'm gonna look at the live chat here if there's any questions, but if not, I'm gonna end this live stream. You're welcome, Susie. Yeah, you really have to look professional, because the presentation, if you have a competitor who is more professional than you, most likely the client would pick them. So it's really best to put an effort on making a mock-up of what they're getting. You don't just give them an artwork of, so for example, for a signage, just give them this signage. It's better to give them the actual one, which is this. At least they know how it looks like once it's installed. Same thing with the banner stand, and also business cards, and also vehicle graphics like this. So Ivan, I know you just came in, but what you can do is you can just rewind, in the playhead, rewind it so that you can take a look at the yeah, when I started. So would you send? Okay, so here's a question from Susie, which is a really good question. So Susie's question is, would you send it to the client as a low-res JPEG for approval? That's a really good point. Never, never give a vector file to the client if you're just designing, unless they request it. But just for approval, say for example you haven't done the contract yet, I know they just want to see your design. You just give them a low resolution image. So for example, so here's what you do when you're doing a low resolution image. So for example, this one, right? Okay. Or just maybe just this business card here. Okay. So for the business card, I'm gonna copy this, Control C to copy, and say for example you're just gonna give this to a client on an email as an attachment. So what I did here, I copied this one, and I'm gonna open another file. Click on File, New, and here's what I always do. So when you're creating a new document and you're gonna put the low res image, right? On attachment for the email. So instead of Corel default, go to web, and then web, change this width to say 800. Okay, 800 is the width of the, say for example, they have this email account, because if you put here like say 1900 or 2000 pixels, that's really big. And then some mailing system, it would, the person who views it will be scrolling. Okay, so keep this as 800, and say this one, make it 600. Okay, and then click OK. Okay, so this is now in pixels, and this is not in inches or in centimeters. So now I'm gonna paste it. Okay, where's my thing? Okay, so I'm gonna paste that, put it here, and then I'm going to scale that down a bit. Now I'm doing it in pixels, right? And then you can put descriptions here. Okay, so now after this, what you can do is you can put your logo here if you want. I'm going to select these two, and I'm going to, this is important, when you go file, export for web. Okay, so when you click export for web, now here's the rule of thumb here. So if you're doing like just purely graphics, you can use PNG, but JPEG if you've got photographs. So we're gonna use PNG here, but I know this table here is, is an image, but you're not selling the tabletop, you're selling the business card. So keep that PNG, and then click on save. Okay, so for example, I'm just gonna put it here in my desktop. Click on save. I'm just gonna title it. I usually, name it as the client's name. We'll just put here sample. Click save, and that's the one that you're going to send to the client for approval. So if I'm going to, now let's compare now. See, this is the original one. If I go really close, it's vector image, very sharp, right? So you're not gonna give the client this one, okay? In my opinion, unless they ask for it, unless your price includes the file setup, right? So I'm gonna import the PNG that we just exported as a, for the attachment, for the email attachment. So it's this one here. I'm gonna put it right beside each other. So you see, it's a low resolution image, right? So that's the one you're gonna give them, because it only goes for their email, right? Just looking at it, right? Okay, there's more questions in here. In case of brand design, professionals sign a legal contractor before the design process, and then we deliver a brand book with vector files and original work. Yeah, so it really depends upon your contract with the client, right? So for example, you are say for example, you're designing something like a logo for them. Of course, you're gonna include that logo, right, as a vector image. And yeah, if they ask for it, you give it to them. But if they don't ask for it, just keep it for your file, right? Yeah, I think that's it. If a client asks for an end product, you send a finished file for the format you've been asked for. Yes, so it really depends upon your clients. Some clients won't even ask for the file. The client would just their concern is only the finished product, say a banner stand or a business card like that. they won't bother keeping it. uh, that's actually a good thing, so that they'll always come back to you. Okay. But once a client will ask for, okay, give me the files, the high resolution files, so and so, the EPS vector file, then I'm not saying that your client will not go back to you anymore, but your client has the capability to give it to another, designer to edit or to print or to make signage. So Ivan has another question here. You may ask for a Corel file free fee approval, but you must ask for much money. Yeah. So that's yeah, you're right there, because that's what I always do too. If they want a vector file or the CorelDRAW file or EPS file, there's more charge for that one, because then the client can go somewhere else. But it's, again, it's really depends upon your client, your relationship between the client. Okay, I think that's it for now. We've covered a lot of things already. So the summary is, make your presentation professional so that it would reflect your work as a professional too. So if you don't have any questions, I would just end this live streaming, and thank you for attending. And I will see you next or tomorrow, hopefully, with a different subject or topic.